What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. Now let's talk about Miss Jeanie Buss. Miss Jeanie Buss, the president of the Los Angeles Lakers organization, she put out a tweet in reflection of the late, great Kobe Bean Bryant, right? And she talks about her memory of Kobe. And the tweet goes as follows. She says, "I miss KB, Kobe Bryant." She says, "He would understand and explain everything that I'm not allowed to." When she said that, I'm like, hold on, what can you not say? You're the president of the LA Lakers. You can say whatever you want to. That is your organization. You're the president of it. You can speak however you want to speak regarding your team. Nonetheless, she continues to say, honestly, he, being Kobe Bean Bryant, he was the greatest Laker ever. He understood team over self, meaning your rewards would come if you value team goals over your own. Then everything would fall into place. All can reply. Now, look, y'all, I promise y'all I didn't want to say this or make this video about Kobe Bean Bryant because I respect the hell out of him as a player, as a man, and for everything that he's done and accomplished in the NBA. So let me just say, Kobe Bean Bryant was an exceptional, and not an exceptional, an extraordinary talent, right? One of the greatest talents we've ever seen grace this league that we ever seen and will ever will see in the NBA, right? He is one of one. He is an all-time great. But what we not going to do is pretend that he was the ultimate team guy. We not going to act like he was the ultimate team guy. I lived during the Kobe Bean Bryant era. I watched Kobe Bean Bryant. I watched they three-peat with the Lakers. I watched the time after Shaq left the Lakers. I watched all of that. I remember vividly. I'm not just some little young kid that's 22 years old, 29 years old. I've been watching basketball for a very long time. I remember and can intelligently tell you things that I saw Kobe Bean Bryant display. Kobe was not no team player for real. So she can be happy and she can be grateful for the fact that Kobe helped to bring five championships to her organization. She can talk about how he was the ultimate Laker and how, he was this a player that was a transcendent great. All good, right? But when she started talking about this team player stuff, that is a false narrative. I remember vividly several times during Kobe Bryant's tenure with the Lakers, he would be tearing the Lakers team apart and causing dissension on the regular. I know people don't want to speak ill about Kobe Bean Bryant because he's deceased and we lost him way too soon. He died a tragic death with his beautiful young daughter, and I get that. People don't want to say anything bad or want to just say all good things about him or whatever, right? But this is a truth channel, okay? I'm not going to just say things just because, a person is no longer here with us. I'm going to spit the facts about the situation. I remember he was causing dissension on a regular. He did not want to play with Shaq and basically told the Lakers organization it's going to be either me or him. It can't be both of us. One of us got to go. And he made them basically trade Shaq because he didn't want to play with Shaq no more, right? Then I remember when, in the midst of Kobe Bryant's allegations or whatever, right? He in the interrogation room telling the police maybe I should have paid him like Shaq was doing, right? Now, granted, that has nothing to do with the basketball, but it did because it seeped out into the media. Shaquille O'Neal found out about him basically trying to say, hey, maybe I need to just be paying my women like Shaq be doing. And Shaq, as a married man, is like, what the hell are you doing? Which created dissension on the team and caused them to have a bad rift, a terrible rift for years, right? So that's not being a team player, right? I remember during Kobe Bryant's tenure after the Shaquille O'Neal trade, Kobe was an asshole to several of his teammates, right? I remember him I remember Smush Parker, they said he told Smush Parker, you can't talk to me. You ain't got enough accolades under your belt to be talking to me, right? I think during practice and stuff like that. That shit is crazy for a person to tell a teammate that. Just imagine if any other guy in the NBA would be saying it to their teammates, people would have been like, what the hell is that? That's terrible. That's not okay. That's not good leadership qualities, right? But because Kobe Bean Bryant was trying to move, or he was trying to act or, mimic the ilk of Michael Jordan, trying to be a carbon copy of Michael Jordan in a lot of different ways, or people looked at him like that because he played similarly to Michael Jordan, the way the playing style and so on and so forth. People was looking at that and like, oh, well, he trying to be Mike, and Mike wasn't the nicest guy, so it's okay, it's acceptable. No, the fuck it's not. It was never acceptable for him to be doing that to his teammates. I remember when ESPN released a clip of him in his practice, right? Practice with the Lakers organization, calling them all type of soft, MFing them, all type of, profanity, all of that, calling them soft, Charmin, soft, none of y'all soft. Y'all all trashing them. And I'm looking like, okay, yes, these players are not the greatest players in the organization. But what is that going to do for their confidence if the great Kobe Bryant is belittling them and shitting on them, right? Some players, people be like, well, they need to be inspired. Anybody that's ever played any sport will tell you, you cannot motivate guys in the same way. That may work for one guy. So another guy that may cause his confidence to take a hit, and then you'll see a way worse effect in his play. You'll see a precipitous drop in his play after that, because you're berating him and belittling him to the point where the whole world sees it, right? And then he can't stand. A lot of them are too scared to stand up to the great Kobe Bean Bryant, so they letting him just berate them all willy-nilly, talk crazy to them, right? So again, anybody that's ever played a sport will tell you that may work for one guy, but that shit is not going to work for every guy. That's not great leadership qualities to be out there berating and cussing out every single body and think, well, that's what Mike would have done. Yeah, Mike did that shit too, but Mike also should have got his ass whooped a few times, like when he denied Horace Grant some food on the plane because Horace didn't play well enough. I'd have whooped Michael Jordan's ass, right? So stuff like that, everything, just because Mike did it does not mean it's okay, right? But Kobe was doing stuff like that, so I'm like, hold on, I remember when she talking about he was like the greatest team player, like, wait a minute, man. Then I remember, of course, he demanded the trade from the Lakers, and yes, it didn't go through because they got him some help. They went and got Paul Gasol and stuff like that for Kwame Brown, but he was trying to demand a trade for them from the Lakers. Then I remember at the end of his prime, when he was past his prime, after the Achilles injury, he signed that tremendous contract that was so big that, the Lakers couldn't sign any other top free agents to come to their organization because Kobe Bryant took on this massive contract when he was past his prime at that point, right? And I'm sure Kobe knew it. But again, you can't fault the players for wanting to get all their bread. I'm with the players. Get y'all money. Get paid, young brother. Get paid, right? But it still goes against that narrative that she's creating that Kobe was the ultimate team guy. That's not that narrative. If he was, he would have took less money, realizing he was past his prime, and said, you know what? I need some other guys around me to help me at this point. I'm not the same player that I used to be. I need some additional help. I'm going to take a little pay cut so that the Lakers organization can surround me with guys who can help me win more games. That would have been it. You know what I'm saying? So that goes against him signing that hefty-ass contract when he was past his prime. That goes against that team narrative, man. Like, again, this whole Kobe was for the team narrative is hilarious to me, right? Kobe was literally the I in team. I remember because, again, I watched the Kobe Bryant era live, right? I watched it. The man stopped shooting in the series against Phoenix because he was salty that the media said he was shooting way too much because they were losing a string of games. So he stopped shooting in the game and caused them to lose a 3-1 lead in the series just to prove a point because he was mad. He stopped shooting in a pivotal game. Instead of just picking his shots intelligently and not just taking a whole bunch of ill-advised shots, because Kobe did that a lot of times in his career. He was a Hall of Fame, terrific, historic, all-time great player. So I'm not trying to shit on Kobe Bryant and say he wasn't. He was an extraordinary player and an extraordinary talent. But at times he took a lot of ill-advised shots, but he was a ill-advised shot maker. So he was able to hit a lot of crazy shots that he shouldn't have taken in the first place, but he missed a lot of them too, which sometimes could have dug them in a hole. And when the media pointed that out, he got mad at them and just stopped shooting and let his team lose the series. I remember that. That's not team player basketball. I don't care what Jeanie Buss. I know, she could have just said, man, he was an ultimate Laker. He did this for the organization. He helped bring 5 ships there. He did. He was the league MVP in 2008. He was the finals MVP in the last 2 championships they had won before LeBron James got there. That was all would have been true. But I ain't going to sit here and just let her ride off with this narrative into the sunset that Kobe was just his ultimate team guy. Because I remember that, man, like for real. Like he was historically great. But to say he was a team player or to say he was for the team, that's a lie. That's a lie if I ain't never heard one. Again, anybody who ever watched Kobe Bryant play and anybody that understands basketball, anybody that watched him play and watched his shot selection could see he wasn't about the team. right? Now, he won championships, which is a team-oriented goal, but Kobe was trying to solidify his legacy as saying, look, I'm up there with Michael Jordan. So, of course, he wanted to get them chips, but it was times when he didn't play team basketball a whole lot. He wasn't player-friendly with his teammates. He didn't help to bolster team morale or chemistry at times because he was so busy trying to, berate his teammates at times. It caused his teammates to be alienated away from him at times. You know what I'm saying? Unless they were up to par on the talent scale. But sometimes you got to treat your second best player the same. You got to treat the guy at the end of the bench the same way your second best player gets treated, right? You got to do that to create the ultimate team morale. Because when team chemistry is high, y'all know how basketball work. When a guy, the star player, is treating his second in command the same way he treats the guy at the end of the bench, when they all of those guys are treated the same way, it does something to the morale. And when team morale is high, players start playing above their heads. They start hitting shots they normally don't hit because the team is so bonded. They're so connected together that, shit, man, nothing can go wrong for that organization. But I watched Kobe at times, and he wasn't ingratiating to teammates on the regular. On the regular, man. Like, so to say he was a great leader, nah, fam. Like, or to say he was a team player, Kobe wasn't really never no amazing leader. For real. He was just a dog on the court. He wasn't a great leader. He was just a dog on the court. And sometimes being a dog can overcome you being a great leader. Because I know people are going to be like, well, if he wasn't a leader, how did they win? Because sometimes you just that much of a dog, this shit don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter at times. But other times, it will rear its ugly head and you will see it happen. You know what I'm saying? So when Dwight Howard left, he calling Dwight Howard soft and all type of crazy, calling him soft, going crazy on him, waiting to get into it with him and all of that. And Dwight was a punching bag for a lot of people. And then you see Dwight in reflection now because Kobe Bryant is deceased. He like, I should have listened to Kobe and all of that. I don't care. Kobe, and I'm sorry and it's terrible that he's deceased. And I felt horrific, and I was, feeling emotional when he passed away because this is a historic all-time great player that is attached or he played the game that I love, the game in the league that I love to watch. You can't tell a story of NBA basketball without talking about Kobe Bean Bryant. So of course I was affected by that. But I'm still a realist at the end of the day. If I'm Dwight Howard, Dwight ain't have to apologize to nothing to say Kobe was right, because Kobe wasn't right. The Lakers organization and fan base was shitting on him. And Dwight was hurt and still put up 18 and 12. And Kobe was letting him ride on Dwight because he was mad that Dwight left. And he was, I don't give a shit. And when Dwight don't resign, when he didn't resign with the team, I don't give a shit. Like, guys ain't gonna want to play, they're not gonna want to play with Kobe when his attitude is just like that, right? As great as he wasn't ingratiating to the younger dudes. You know what I'm saying? Which is why Dwight did not resign to the organization. He didn't tell the Lakers fan base, hey man, y'all fall the fuck back, man. Dude playing hurt, giving us 18 and 12. Which is better than more than half of the centers in the league at that time because they wasn't on shit. And Dwight was the top one, right? But Kobe didn't do that. He didn't fan the Flames at that time. So she's acting like he the ultimate team player. Like, cut it out, man. I watch basketball. I remember. Knock it off, Jeanie Buss. Just say you miss Kobe. And just say he was a great player and all this. But this whole he was a team player narrative, who you taking shots at when you say that? You know what I'm saying? Because I remember Kobe was not the ultimate team guy. So that narrative has got to stop. Great player, all-time great player. He plays with that a skill set. He plays with a game and a style of play that other guys cannot copy. So I am not a proponent of guys playing like Kobe Bryant because he was just one of one. He was a difficult shot maker, and he just had a tremendous skill set that a lot of guys don't have. So I don't advise guys to play like him because when they do, they tend to fail, like Jason Tatum as well as Kyrie Irving. And you can come talking that crazy stuff to me. Oh, just a young boy. You don't know shit. You young. I'm 29 years old, fam. And I probably know more about the game of basketball than you do, player. Machiavelli Mills TV. I'm out. Peace.